Okie doke.
We got 2 minutes yet. Okay, so we're good. We got time, guys.
Is this over at 6:15? I always forget.
6:15.
Yes. Okay. I always forget, and I'm like, oh, is it time to go?
So like 6:05, you start saying it's coming to the close. I want to thank everybody.
Okay.
You know, baby, you know. You shared it, Gino?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, I see it on my page.
If she sees it, then I'll share it, because I want to make sure she sees it.
I see it.
You could share it to mine, maybe.
You want me to share it,
Yeah,
or?
just share. Or who should share it? Gino, you?
It doesn't matter.
Oh,
If
then you
it's
can
on
share
her
it.
page, she
All
probably
right,
can
Meg,
share
you
it,
can
but
share
she
it.
doesn't want-
Or
Right
just
on
tag
my
you?
page.
I'll
Yeah.
try.
No, don't tag me. Share it right on my wall.
I'll try.
I don't know how to do that. Okay, how about he
Gino,
does
share
it?
Because if you tag me, I have to then
Share it
allow
again.
So I want it to be live, yeah.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody can see and hear it first. And I got the page. Okay, and we should be there.
And on my personal page, Gino, Jerry Petito. Yep.
Coming up. And then we can start. You guys ready to start?
You shared it?
Yep.
Share it right now, Jerry.
If you want to
Thank
go
you.
on the Facebook, it's on Brainstorms.
Thanks, Gino.
I have it over here.
Share it right now.
And you should share it also on your public page.
Okay, it's shared.
Okay.
Yeah, because then a lot of people get to see it that way, because a lot of people don't know Brainstorms.
Okay, here we go, guys. And record, and I've got your music. Turn the mics off.
Okay.
Controlling all bodily functions, emotions, and memory too. Our brains are amazing in stress situations. They regulate other things too. Brains and the spinal cord moves of their own accord. Spinal and cranial nerves. Systems are central and also peripheral. Four lobes on each of the curves. Occipital, temporal, frontal, parietal, sphenoid, and ethmoid all fused. Cerebrum goes left and right. How do we stay upright? Cerebellum is refused. The brainstem has pollen to brain and medulla to relay info along. For heart rate and wheezing, digestion and sneezing. We hope that you learn from this song.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening to Brainstorms, sponsored by The Jerry Petito Show. Today we have the Jerry Petito herself on. She is the host of The Jerry Petito Show on Hamilton Radio. She's on PANJ Radio and Beverly Nation Online Radio. But today we're going to talk about the book she wrote called I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. If you're watching the video, we have the book right there. It's so cute. It has a little cartoon donkey and then her face on it. I think that's a great cover. I think it's so cute. Okay, so we're going to talk about, this book has to do with addiction, right?
Yes.
So I want you to just explain the basic philosophy behind your book, what it deals with,
Okay.
and the basic concept behind it.
I would like, I have a poem, not that I wrote. I can't take credit for this. Can I start with this poem? It's about addiction.
Oh, sure.
It's amazing. I carry it around with me. The author's anonymous. I mean, no one knows who wrote this. So I destroy homes, tear families apart, take your children, and that's just a start. I'm more costly than diamonds, more costly than gold. The sorrow I bring is a sight to behold. And if you need me, remember I'm easily found. I live all around you in schools and in town. I live with the rich, I live with the poor, I live down the street and maybe next door. My power is awesome. Try me, you'll see. But if you do, you may never break free. Just try me once and I might let you go. Try me twice and I'll own your soul. When I possess you, you'll steal and you'll lie. You'll do what you have to do just to get high. The crimes you'll commit for my narcotic charms will be worth the pleasure you'll feel in your arms. You'll lie to your mother, you'll steal from your dad. When you see their tears, you should feel sad. But you'll forget your morals and how you were raised. I'll be your conscience, I'll teach you my ways. I take kids from their parents and parents from kids. I turn people from God and separate from friends. I'll take everything from you, your looks and your pride. I'll be with you always right by your side. You'll give up everything, your family, your home, your friends, your money, then you'll be alone. I'll take and I'll take till you have nothing more to give. When I'm finished with you, you'll be lucky to live. If you try me, be warned, this is no game. If given a chance, I'll drive you insane. I'll ravish your body, I'll control your mind. I'll own you completely, your soul will be mine. The nightmares I'll give you while lying in bed, the voices you'll hear from inside your head. The sweats, the shakes, the visions you'll see. I want you to know these gifts are all from me. But then it's too late, and you'll know in your heart that you are mine and we shall not part. You'll regret that you tried me, they always do. But you came to me, not I to you. You knew this would happen. Many times you were told, but you challenged my power and chose to be bold. You could have said no and just walked away. If you could live that day over, now what would you say? I'll be your master, you will be my slave. I'll even go with you when you go to your grave. Now that you have met me, what will you do? Will you try me or not? It's all up to you. I can bring you more misery than words can tell. Come take my hand, let me lead you to hell. Signed, drugs and alcohol.
Wow, that actually sounds like one of your poems, which I'm surprised you didn't write that, actually.
I can't take credit for this. The reason I wanted to read that was a friend of mine will be burying her son tomorrow from drugs.
I'm so sorry.
Long struggle. He was doing well, and it came back. And so the concept, you want me to talk about the concept of my book, right?
Yes.
So first and foremost, I'm going to say something that a lot of you may not agree with, but hear me out, and then you'll understand where I'm coming from with this. I say addiction is not a disease. So my book talks about why it's not and how we could really, really, truly fix this in this country. But the reason why we can't, because there's too much profit to gain. I believe addiction is a dis-ease of the brain. See, there's a difference. While you're using drugs or drinking alcohol or any addiction, it could be food, Megan, it could be sex, whatever it is. Trust me, I lived with it. Once that starts happening to you, your brain cells do have it. You're killing your brain cells. You're destroying your brain cells. Your brain cells will change. That's where the word disease comes in. But it's really not disease. It's a disease because that can be fixed. And the problem with telling addicts that you have a disease and you're powerless, that destroys them. So then what's the point? So yeah. I'm going to tell you why I don't like the word disease and I don't like powerless and why I think it's contradictory to what AA teaches. Everything has to make sense to me. And when I went to the rooms, into the doors, I was 30 years old. I did my time in Princeton House, 30 days, came out and said, I have to listen to them. So I got a sponsor immediately. I went to a meeting every day for the first 30 days, and I wanted to shoot my brains out. And this is why. They were telling me I was powerless. That's the first step. You are powerless over your addiction. Then they said I had to say, hi, my name is Jerry. I'm an addict every day, all day long. And then war stories about your past. That was not going to make me sane, and that was not going to heal me. So if I truly, 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 guys, wanted to heal, I had to break away from that stigma and say, no, I am powerful. I am not an addict. I do not have a disease, and I can heal this. And that's what I did.
Okay. That's so different from,
yes,
what they teach, AA teaches in there. And I know a lot of people get offended by that. But I don't think you're not showing compassion or having empathy or anything.
Oh, no.
It's just...
no, I want to help them.
Yeah, it's to help your own mindset.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm always an in-the-middle person,
yes.
And I think if Alcoholics Anonymous principles work for someone, when they say you're powerless, I think there's some people who think they recover and then they think, oh, I can just get high one time, I can just drink one time, and they can't. They can't resist it.
But then they truly weren't healed mentally.
So do you think
that's a good point?
Do you think if you had an addiction to alcohol, you could, once you recovered, have a drink again?
I know so many people who have.
And they're okay?
They're fine. My father. Let's talk about my dad. My dad's gone now, 84 years old. My dad came here at 13 years old with no parents on a boat. Mm-hmm. He had to meet an uncle that he never met before. 13, he didn't even speak the language. Imagine us sending our child. So talk about real stuff that went on back then. Then he finally, his whole family came, you know, worked his butt off, but they all drank because they didn't know any different.
Yeah.
And when my father was told he had diabetes, that night he stopped. And can I have a glass of wine? He did till the day he died.
Wow.
So, yes, it's absolutely possible.
And whatever works for you
Yes.
specifically is what you should do,
Right.
obviously.
But I do want to say this. I never tell anyone in my book not to go to the meetings. In my book, I
Yes.
say, I am not telling you because, unfortunately, it's sad. Some people don't have any other support system but the meetings, and then you need to go. So I say that.
Could you tell us a little bit about your personal journey, if you're comfortable doing that?
I'm an open book. My personal journey was this. And I also talk about this briefly in my book. My book, guys, is not my whole story because I didn't want to do that. I wanted this book to help people.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on things so that the addict knows I can relate.
Yeah.
So I had some things happen to me. We all have. Everybody has had things happen to them, some worse than others, okay? Sexual abuse, all that. So I think what happened to me growing up when this happened was I let this man go. He was moving away anyway. I did know enough, you know, I was like 15, whatever I was, 14, 15. I did know enough to tell someone. So I told a family member to let him know he knows, but I knew not to tell my dad. My dad would have killed him with his bare hands. So I let him go. He was moving away anyway, and they did. All these years, I thought I let a child molester go. That was, I think, what caused my addiction. I didn't know how else to escape that because back then things were so different than they are today. God is so good that at 57 years old, this man came back into town for a family reunion party thing. I didn't know he was going to be there and touched me. And he's in his 70s, touched me. And I laughed in his face and said, God is so good because God allowed me to know I did not let a child molester go. Because if I did, he would not have done that 57 years old. So that was my journey. So, but I knew enough to know that what the program was not going to work for me. Because if I was going to truly change my life, I had to give it to God. Because something out there has to be greater than us, guys. So even if you don't believe in God, right? Because I won't judge you if you don't believe in God. That's your journey. Believe in something. So they do tell you to believe in something greater. And there's a reason why. Can you imagine us going through life thinking we're it?
Yeah.
That we can't put faith in someone greater than us? Even children, they need their parents, right? So it's the same thing as adults. We need our Heavenly Father, right? So I had to turn it all over to God. And the day I did that, I can't even tell you the freedom. I said, Lord, take everything. I am giving my life to you. I said, I have to change everything. And then I learned about nutrition, and now I'm a nutritional health coach. I cured myself of 2 cancers. It's all in there. I changed everything, but I had to, Meg, because for me not to go AA or NA, I had to change everything.
Yeah.
So it's not just recovering, I want to call it, from addiction, or what would you call it? Overcoming addiction?
Oh, I just call it changing your life.
If you're not an addict anymore, I thought they call it in recovery.
Oh, I don't. I refuse. I'm not
Okay.
in recovery.
Okay.
I don't even go to listen, I wouldn't go to meetings if you gave me $1 million. Like there's no reason. But I changed everything in my life. You can't just say, okay, I'm gonna change 5%, or okay, I'll change 40%. This is the problem. Oh, let me say this. This is why I think they're hypocrites. Let me say this about this. This might make sense to somebody out there. Listen, if this show can help one person, right? We did our job, right? If this can make sense to you, now listen. They teach you that your child has a disease from a parent's perspective, right? I'm a parent. Your child has a disease. Okay. But then they teach you to let your child who has this disease hit rock bottom, throw them out. Don't give them your car keys. Don't give them money. If they're saying they're hungry, only give them food, but don't give them any. So let your child live on the streets, live homeless, without money, without food, till they hit rock bottom so they could choose to not
to get help.
use. So how is that possible to say in the same respect that it's a disease, but they will be able to make the choice when they hit rock bottom? So throw your child out with a disease. Is that making sense?
Yeah, I understand that doesn't
Yeah, I
that
never-
doesn't really. I agree with you on that
Because it doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah, with the disease, you would take care of them.
That's right.
Not,
Absolutely.
yeah. I did want to ask you. I looked this up and I found a similar, not exactly the same, but I found a number from American Addiction Center had a 8 to 12%. But
Yep.
it's your book says the success rate
Yep.
of Alcoholics Anonymous is
Like
7%.
That's more accurate. It's between 5 and 10. So
Yeah,
8 to
that's-
12 is the same,
That's
right?
like very
Yeah.
similar.
Yes.
That's
So-
not a very high number.
No.
I
I
thought.
thought
without
it was
researching
a lot
it, it
of
was
a
higher.
lot of people got help from them.
Nobody. This is why it's so sad to me, and that was another reality, because every person out there either struggles with something or knows someone who does. And today, unfortunately, an old friend of mine that I know is burying her son tomorrow because of addiction. So everyone's been touched by it. So the percentage should be higher if what they're doing is right.
Yeah, if it's
Okay.
working. Yeah, that makes sense. And you've helped a lot of people, you said, with your book, personally, that you know.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Personally, that I know.
Okay.
Crazy.
Okay, I do want you to explain this because I
Yes.
didn't understand it when I read it because I am not
I know what you're going
familiar with it. But you have in the beginning of your book the Jackass test. Yeah. So can you explain that and what
All
it's
right.
based on?
I will. Okay. So, what I say is this, guys. This is. I'm glad you're asking me that, May. All right. So,
You have a lot of acronyms in your book, which I
Okay.
really like also.
because that's me. All right. So, even whether you're in AA, NA, Gamblers Anonymous, it's all the same. They'll give you a test to take home, and if you answer, it's so ridiculous. I don't even know what it is anymore, guys. Say there's 20 questions. If you answer more than 50%, well, then you're an addict. Whatever it is, I'm not sure. It's ridiculous. So I put a test in here, not calling the person the jackass. I'm calling the test a jackass. It doesn't make sense to me. So they have things like this. Have you ever lied? Have you ever stolen? Have you ever compromised your principal for drugs? Who cares? Put them all in one. Because if you answer yes to any of them, then you have a problem. If you have ever stolen for drugs, then do you have a drug problem?
Yeah, I'd say so.
You have to.
Yeah.
If you ever lied, and I don't mean like a white lie, I mean if you've ever lied because you needed to get drugs, you have a drug problem.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever abandoned a child or anyone in your life, even one time, to get drugs, sweet pea, you have a drug problem. So let's fix this. Let's help you. So saying take this test and if you only answer 3 yes, well, you're not that big. No, yes you are.
Yeah.
See, that's where I'm going with that. You know
Okay.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such a ridiculous test to even give them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Definitely. And I think also your book is, even though it's about something serious, it's very lighthearted, has like
Yes.
a very joyful tone to
Yes.
it. And can you explain some of your acronyms?
Okay.
Because I really like
Piss
those.
off.
Yeah.
Okay. So, all right.
Because there's like a lot in there, and I
Right.
thought that was really creative how you did that.
All right. So, this book is intended to piss off a lot of people. Okay, but don't worry. It's a good thing. Piss off means possibly infiltrate sensible solutions offering favorable fundamentals. And it has pissed off people. It's
Yeah.
pissed off people that are running AA, NA,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Even City of Angels wanted nothing to do with my book because I will not say, and I won't, that it's a disease.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of them. So I'm trying to piss you off in a positive light to make you laugh and say, you know what, that's me. But now maybe we can get something out of this book and it can offer something that's going to help me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now, I'm sure by now you want to tell me to kiss off. And I'm sure what you have heard is kiss means keep it simple, stupid. I don't like that. I do not like that. So mine is keeping ideas safe and sound. Doesn't that make more sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so imagine, you walk into these rooms, you're desperate. You've already been told you're powerless. It's the first step. You're powerless. You've already been told you have a disease. You are crushed and broken and scared to death and thinking, how am I ever going to get out of this? Now they tell you, keep it simple, stupid. That's terrible. Okay? So, no, we have to be taught to keep our ideas safe and sound. That's important, guys. And we'll talk about that with the brain, you know? Now, your goal, ultimately, is to change. Okay? CHANGE. How so? Channeling healthy, amazing, new, grounded endeavors. And this is why, because if we don't have something to replace,
Yeah, I really like that one. That one's
truth,
my
right?
my
we
favorite
have
one.
to replace all our unhealthy thoughts, our unhealthy actions. If we don't replace them, where are we going to go?
Which I think is part of why you don't like to say you're recovering, because you need to change your whole life, not just give up.
No, because
the
recovering means you're
addiction.
still in it.
Yeah,
I'm so far not in it.
yeah.
Not only have I been clean and sober for 27 years now. My book says 25, but that was written 2 years ago. 27 years now. I had a poker league. I was in bars every night. They would go out, smoke pot. I know some of them did coke out there, whatever. No, never even made me think about it. Everything I do now is nutritionally based. I'm a vegan. Everything's organic. I changed everything about my life. And I'm not saying, guys, here's the thing. I'm not saying you can't get well if you don't change everything. I also had a lot of health issues that I had to deal with because of the drugs. But what I am saying is that if you could do a few things, listen, sugar is major, because your brain cannot decipher the difference between sugar and opiates. It thinks you're on heroin. That's what this country has done with the sugar. So your brain really thinks you're doing drugs when you're taking in a lot of sugar. 1 can of Coke, 9 1/4 teaspoons. Now, it's not even sugar that they put in it. Of course not, because now high fructose corn syrup is cheaper and more addictive. So everybody in this country is addicted to sugar. So now if you take an addict whose brain is already hurting and needs to be repaired, what do they give them in rehabs? Soda machines, sugar, right? They make them eat anything they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I did want to ask you about people who are addicted to things that are more socially acceptable,
Okay.
like food addictions or
Okay.
something like that, because you can't just give up eating food,
Right.
obviously.
Okay.
So how do you recognize that, and how do you deal with it?
Okay. My brother. Okay. So my brother, unfortunately, since he was born, was obese. So he had issues from the day he was born. They didn't even think, the doctors told my dad, my mom or my brother would die, but they both didn't. They both lived. My brother was obese since he was born. I think he was like 13 pounds. Okay.
Wow.
And back then they didn't know anything, and then my Italian mom, all she did was feed him because he would come home crying. He was made fun of, all that. Okay. So my brother ended up being at his biggest 650 pounds.
Wow.
He's now on his
bless
own
him.
lost over 350 pounds, maybe
Wow.
more.
I just saw him. He looks terrific.
You saw him. That's
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah.
looks great.
Oh, right. Okay. He's doing amazing. But this is what I want to tell you about this. It did become a food addiction because my mom didn't know how to make him happy. So that was the only way.
Did you see Fatso with Dom DeLuise?
Yes. Okay. So my brother had a food addiction his whole life. So what we did with my brother was every day, because of me for the last 27 years, Aunt, listen, let me cook for you. Okay. And I would cook for him for years. Okay. Then he would lose weight. Then he would gain it. Then he would lose whatever. So once I started talking to him about, let's talk about why it happened. We already know why it happened, but I had to meet him where he was at.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been listening to my mouth for 27 years, and he knows. So I'm going to tell you what I do think clicked. A cousin of mine, okay, I dedicated this book to him. I didn't even know he was on drugs at the time, okay? When God said, write this book, I laughed, and I said, now? Well, now I know why. All right? So we got him away, got him help. He never let go of my book. But me and my brother were in the rehab with him, and he almost lost his mind over what he was doing, crystal meth. And he said, he calls me John. John, I'm not like these people. I'm not like these people. Get me out of here. They're all crazy. They're all crazy. This is a psych ward. But he was losing his mind. My brother sat there and listened to what I said to my cousin. And I said, You're right, sweetheart. You're right. You're not like them. And they're not like you. So how about if we just focus on what's going to help you right now? And then I promise you, we're going to get out of here. My brother was so impressed just by that one statement. He said, how do you know what to say? And I said, because God gave me all this information, and he did. So my brother took that and I think applied it. So even though in his mind he wasn't an addict, he realized, wait a minute, I have to be.
Yeah.
So even though it's not alcohol or drugs, it's my food.
Well, you said earlier addicted to sugar, and I have a sweet tooth, and I have coffee every day, and if I'm getting tired, I do crave those things.
Because your body knows.
Yeah. But you're getting back to what you said about wanting to escape, doing drugs, drinking, eating, whatever it might be, to escape. You do need to address what you can't face. What are you escaping from? You can't. You were saying, Megan was saying, you're going to replace one addiction with another, replace one bad habit with another. So you really do need to take a look at your whole life and why you do the things you do and why you feel the way you do. And you have to make a lot of healthy changes. Everyone might not be as extreme as you are. But I would like to know how you are an Italian vegan.
Okay. So.
Because that's no cheese, right?
Do you have something like that's like cheese?
Did they disown you from Italy? Or?
So very close. So okay, great question. So I've been cooking my entire life, and I'm now a vegan chef. I went to cooking school for that, but cooking my entire life and being Italian. Okay, so when I got sick, with colon cancer, I was really thin. I was really sick, and I knew enough to know. And, I have doctors in my family and nurses in my family. I love them. But I knew enough to know what's going on with the medical industry that they were just going to kill me. So I went away and I got certified through George Malcolmus. He's still alive, guys. He was sent home to die. So that was 27 years ago. His colon cancer went into his bones. He's still alive through fasting. He's amazing. We actually hiked on this retreat, okay? And watching this man, and 60-year-old man who was supposed to die hiking, it was amazing. So anyway, when that happened to me, I had to say, I got to look at everything. The food was an issue. My body could not process meat. It could not process dairy. And I said, this is it. I'm done. But here's the reason why I didn't get disowned. God gave me this personality where I was even a tough kid because I watched my brother being bullied. And I remember getting into fist fights. I was this tiny little peanut. I was 6 pounds when I was born. I was small. And I remember I wanted to punch someone because they made my brother cry. It was a girl. She was like 6 foot. She was a bully. And I ran in front of my mom walking us to school 2 blocks away, and I waited for her, and I climbed up on the railing in New York, and I held on to the awning, and I said, I don't care. She's going to kill me. I know it. I'm in my little uniform for Catholic school. My mom was 1 block away. She comes out. I give her one good shot. She beats the crap out of me. My mother comes around. She's beating me up. My uniform got all ripped, but I didn't care. I said, okay, Lord, this was good, God. And I don't know, it's just God had to be something inside of me that made me tough. So when that happened, and I remember even saying to my mom when I was only in 4th grade, because back then we made our confirmation very young. I could have been 4th or 5th grade, whatever it was. And they threw me in this confessional booth. I was scared to death. And this man said, hello, child, I remember coming home and I said, Mommy, why do I have to tell the strange man in this box, in this dark box that I was bad? Can't I just tell God? And she said, yep. So from that moment on, I just took everything to God, even as a kid. And I remember with the food, I said, oh, well, I remember telling my mom one time, maybe I have to be Jewish. Maybe Jesus isn't real. She's like, whatever. So they listen, so even with the food, I said, that's it. I'm done. Well, I tried to change everybody in my family. When my father got sick from the diabetes and passed out, he went on a vegan diet. Dr. Joel Furman, he's in his book, Eat to Live. I picked up my dad from the hospital, drove him to Furman. He was a friend of mine without my dad knowing. My dad did everything he said, got off of insulin.
Wow.
After shooting it for 20 years in a week.
Wow.
Wow.
So nutrition is amazing, guys. So my family just dealt with first of all, think about this. If my family dealt with my drugs, I got pregnant before I got married, before anyone in my family. I did things nobody in my family did. They put up with me. So if they put up with that, they said, okay, big deal. She's not going to eat meat or dairy right now. Right?
Yep. So that your Italian family was okay with
Right.
that.
You know?
Yeah.
I just want to say I have a friend who's commenting on the video, and he is a part of AA, and he is
Hello.
talking about how it helped him. He's been sober or
Yes.
clean for 5 years, and I think you should just re-explain how you don't you're not condemning
You don't want to
AA.
negate his success.
So,
it works
first of
for
all,
him.
congratulations. First of all,
Yep.
congratulations, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And if you want, just to check out my book, I'll send you a free copy, all right? My book does not tell anyone not to go to meetings, okay? First and foremost. What my book talks about is I chose, and I'm going to say this word, but this doesn't apply to you. I don't even know you. You know, there are dry drunks out there, and I had some in my family where they were sober but miserable, thought about drinking 24/7, had to go to 3 meetings a day. That's not life to me. I'd rather God take me. So kudos to you. I'm glad it's working for you. My point is this. It's only a 7% rate that people make it. So you're one of the few lucky ones. And, you know, I'm sure you worked hard to get where you're going. It wouldn't have worked for me. Because if I had to say I was powerless one more time, I would have shot myself. I do not believe I'm powerless. I don't ever think about picking up. I changed everything in my life to the point of ridiculous. So my life has been amazing. Drugs are never on my mind. I don't even take aspirin. I mean, nothing. And not because I can't, because why? I do everything now so natural. But I don't negate what you've done, and I certainly really mean this. Congratulations, kiddo, because you're one of the few.
I was going.
He says he'll take your book for free.
I will give it to you. I would love to give it to you, honestly. Get in touch with Megan. You could give her your address. I'll send it to you,
Yeah.
sweetie.
Okay.
I was going to say at the end, but I'll say it now because this is a good time. I'm not weighing in on really either side because I have heard arguments. I'm either blessed or cursed with that ability to see all sides. Yes. So I understand. I didn't know Alcoholics Anonymous had that low of a rate.
7%.
But I understand the concept, which could work for someone.
It started out perfect.
It did it. That, okay, this is a disease. I'm powerless. I could see needing to emphasize that with someone who doesn't want to admit they're an alcoholic, who thinks, okay, I'll just drink a little bit. I'll just drink on special occasions. But once they have a drink, they go overboard.
Yeah, for some people, I don't think they can just have one drink. You know what I mean?
If that strikes them, if that strikes a chord with them, if they don't look at it as being powerless to change their life, but you make a choice when you take drugs, when you drink alcohol. And I've always looked at the disease part of it like this. That's a choice. Maybe you have a propensity towards that. Maybe a genetic predisposition. Maybe it's because of your environment that you are seeking to escape. And there's certain things that once you do them at all, like heroin, you're addicted. Once you drink long enough, you're addicted. And at that point, as you said, your brain is diseased, and you now have something that's very difficult to control.
Yeah, that's better. Okay, absolutely. Say that again.
You make a choice,
Yep.
which can be for a variety of reasons, not blaming, but
That's right.
because Megan and I have often said
Yep.
A healthy, happy, very
Well-adjusted.
well-adjusted person doesn't just drink too much or pick up drugs. Right. So not blaming anybody. There's things that are tough to deal with, and you do what you can to function, and you can get into a situation where you've over-imbibed or you've tried a drug that's very highly addictive, and now you don't have full control anymore. It started off as a choice, and I think that's how people maybe started calling it a disease, because the brain is craving that substance. So at that point, you don't have control anymore. Like it's almost like you gave yourself this disease.
That's right.
but I don't mean that in a judgmental
Yes.
way.
Yes.
But for some people, if it helps them to think of it that way, okay, this is a disease, I can't drink anymore, I have to stay away from that. If that helps them, great. I don't care what you call it. You know, we talk about mental illness all the time, and I've had family and friends where we go to a doctor and people argue with me over diagnosis. I don't care what the diagnosis is. Here's what the person is suffering from. What can we do to alleviate it? What lifestyle changes can we make? Is medicine necessary? I'm not going to debate someone over, is it schizophrenia or is it bipolar? Is it bipolar 1 or is it bipolar 2? I don't care. Let's just, get something's wrong. Let's get healthy. So.
But the word disease, this is why I don't agree with liking the word at all, ever used. And this is why. Think about this. They feel like they will have it forever. Mm-hmm. See, they don't have to feel like they have it forever to stay sober. Because think about this again. Let's talk about the 7%, right? Mm-hmm. Something's wrong. Something's broken. We have to fix it. And that's part of what's broken, because even though these people who are staying sober, some of them are, not all of them, some of them are really suffering. And then they feel like I have this for life. And then they end up dying.
Well, wait, let me ask you something, because I used to smoke.
Okay.
And I quit smoking.
Okay.
And someone said to me, you will miss it every day of your life. Now, some people quit smoking. They can't stand the smell of it anymore. They don't want to be around it. They preach to everyone else. I am the person who wants to smell you when you come in from outside having a cigarette. If I choose not to smoke. If I, under stress, did buy a pack of cigarettes, I'd be in a lot of trouble.
But this is why. I can tell you why. All right? And this is good news.
Okay.
All right? No, because listen, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what your to-go-to was. That's what your comfort zone was.
Oh.
Okay?
That makes sense.
Let's talk about the
brain makes sense.
with mind over matter and all that, and fight or flight, because this could help. All right? So when I wrote this book, I did a chapter on mind over matter and fight or flight. And I did something, and I did an experiment. And if I didn't do it myself, I wouldn't have believed it. I laid in my bed, and I had this sound box on with waves and music, and it was just so beautiful. And I was picturing the sun, and everything was great. I deliberately changed my thoughts to really, 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 really bad thoughts. Within 30 seconds, my heart started pounding. I was having this like panic attack. I sat up in bed and I'm like, okay, Lord, it's fake. It's fake. It's fake. Okay, God, I did that. It's fake. It's fake. Right. That proved to me how powerful our mind is.
Yeah.
So if you could change your thoughts about it and really instill, oh my gosh, for say a month, every day, look at lungs on smoking. Every day, look at people dying. There's photos from other countries, because I travel a lot. Their cigarette packs all have photos on them of mouth cancer, lung cancer, brain cancer. That's what we need here. So if you ever really, like say for a month, looked at these every day, trust me, that will not happen anymore. You will despise it. It's all what we feed, our thoughts.
That's so interesting.
Powerful.
That's a good idea.
It's so powerful.
Yeah. I want to say mind over matter is very important. If you have like a mental disorder, like generalized anxiety disorder or something, it's not always that simple. So we're not saying don't seek help or medication.
I say anything that helps anybody, throw it out there and share it. And even if you very firmly believe alcoholism is a disease, and I don't agree with you on that, there's still very common sense things in here that a certain chapter may really help
might
you.
resonate.
That's right.
Yeah, it might resonate with you, even if,
There's,
we're all after the same goal,
That's
however
right.
you do
Oh,
it.
yes.
There's one chapter on acceptance, and I thought it was, I just saw the title, and I thought, oh, acceptance that you're an alcoholic.
Oh, no.
But it was accept the fact that you are not a mistake, which I think is really important. And we just talked about mind over matter, but thinking badly about yourself can cause you to get into this addiction behavior in the first place.
That's right.
So it's mind over matter, like you said. And what's the one thing?
What do you mean you are not a mistake?
Fight or flight?
No, the you keep going. I'll think of it.
What do you mean you are not a mistake?
Because a lot of what happens in the addict's mind is they believe that they're no good, they're worthless, they're a mistake. They shouldn't have even been born. When I interview addicts and I hear that, it just breaks my heart. And why was I even born? I shouldn't have been born. I'm a terrible person. You don't know all the terrible things I've done. No, you were not a mistake. So if you could take the addiction that we went through and now do some good with it, like Antonia Montalvo, I had her on my show, and now we're doing some things together. This young woman, what she went through with her addiction, and then she ended up now losing 100 pounds, and now she has a halfway house for women, okay, for donations. It's a nonprofit. What she's doing is amazing. So they tend to think they're worthless and they were a mistake. And that's
You
what's
are
sad.
not worthless.
That's right.
I'm talking to you, Kelly, Maria,
Yes.
Joanne, Miranda.
That's heartbreaking to me.
Off the top of my head, that's who came
Yeah,
to me.
that's heartbreaking.
Yeah, what I remembered what it
I
was.
just see people that are sad sometimes, and they're
Yep.
feeling bad about themselves.
That's right.
I hate that.
Yeah. Fake it till you make it. I think
yeah.
you say that in there too. Do you?
Okay. I do. So this is what I mean about that. All right. We're going to go back to the disease with a child, and this is where this comes in. If my child was an addict, and they're telling me my child has a disease, but I'm going to let her hit rock bottom. No, I am not going to let my child hit rock bottom, because if my child truly has a disease, I want to help her. Fake it till you make it. Grab that child. Put them away. I don't care what it takes. Don't throw them to the curb. Throw them into a facility. Put them in a rehab. Put them somewhere. Get them into a hospital. Okay? Stay by their side and let them fake it till they make it. Because in the beginning, they are going to fake that they want help to get what they need. Mm-hmm. But if you stay by their side long enough, the more they fake it, it's going to turn into something real. And then they can make it.
I think there's a lot of parents out there, though, that have a very hard time because they feel guilty. They feel like they must have done something to cause this child the problems that they have, or they must have contributed in some way. Maybe they did, but maybe they didn't.
Okay.
And that gets in the way of your helping your child when you don't want to accept something, or you don't want to believe it's as severe as it is.
Then that's called enabling. It's also a choice. Because here you are.
Yeah.
I'm going to say something about you.
Uh-oh.
Okay? I was told, rumor has it, you're somebody's person. Okay? And an amazing person. So you had to deal with a lot, right?
Yes.
Did you ever once say, oh, woe is me, because blah, 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 and it stopped you?
No. I said, I'm so grateful that this person cares what I think and is letting me, that I'm able to help them at all.
Okay. So if you could do it, so could any other parent out there. Okay, because parents have to understand one thing, and I'm going through it now with a couple family members, so I'm going through it right now, guys. It's very heartbreaking, but when the parent will not listen and will not do the right things, they're making a choice as well. Because I'm going to tell you why. You don't just become an enabler the first time your child ODs or has a drug problem. You become an enabler over time. So you made a choice early on that for whatever reason, whether it's your pride, whatever is going on, that you're going to enable. So get out of your own way. Get rid of the pride. It has nothing to do with you. Stop enabling, and you'll be able to help your child.
And I'll finish my book to help you, Parenting in the Tripolar Age.
That's what she wants her book to be.
There you go.
Tripolar.
Yeah.
So
Because it's bipolar and it's environment.
yeah.
I love that.
So
What was I about to say? Oh, so we talked about family members. You also talk about actions speaking louder than words. So you talk about things you can do to feel good about yourself that help you be a better person, feel better about yourself and be a better person to others.
That's right.
So what are some things you can do to feel better?
Well, help someone else. One day, do something for one person. You never know how much that meant to that person. That's number one. Do something for you that's going to make you feel good, whatever it is. Get a massage, okay? You might not have the money for that, but you had money for drugs, right? So see, I have such a hard time with all that.
How do you really feel, Jerry? That's what we want to know.
So my point is, do something constructive and something powerful and something that makes you feel good other than leaving your mind and leaving your body. Because here's the other thing. Escape, right? Escape to a really cool place, not drug-induced or alcohol-induced or being passed out. So go to the beach, right? If that's what you like. Go play golf if that's what you like, okay? Go get some ice cream. I don't agree with it, but go get some ice cream. If that makes you feel good, right? I mean, it's a healthy alternative. Go get a massage. Like, do something good for you, for someone else.
And
Make
get
healthy
get
choices.
away from people who are bringing you down,
That's
too.
right. Oh, if God
Because-
closes the door, let it stay shut.
Because there are people that
That's right.
want you to keep using. There are people
That's
that
right.
aren't where you are, and to feel okay about their choices,
Yeah,
they
that's
want
what I
you.
was just
They
gonna
want
say,
you to
feel
continue to
okay
make
about
Absolutely.
them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I also wanted to say I read the book, and I think it's helpful to people even who don't struggle with addiction.
Yes.
It's just about, becoming a better person in general,
Yes.
taking responsibility for your life.
That's right.
And I think it's very helpful just for anyone who wants to read it. It's good for, loved ones who know people with addiction. It's good for people with addiction, and just anyone who wants to read it in general.
That's right.
It's
Thank
just
you.
very helpful, I think.
Thank you.
I thought it was very helpful. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask you about the brain.
Okay.
What you know about the brain with
Okay.
addiction, because we know a bit about the
Okay.
brain with mental illness, but not
Okay.
addiction.
So I know a lot now, guys. I've traveled all over the world on health tours. I went to Russia when it was communist, went behind the scenes. I've been in slaughterhouses. So I know a lot about all this kind of health stuff, right? But the brain. I even studied the brain when my dad was going through Alzheimer's to really try and figure this out. And I did figure it out. Too late, but I did. So here's what happens with the brain and addiction. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay. So you have two siblings. Let's just say that. Two twins. Let's even do that so you get a better picture of where I'm going with this. So you have twins, twin boys. They grew up in the same home, had the same parents, everything the same, pretty much, right? I'm going to tell you what one of my favorite posts were, and then I'll get back to the brain because this is vital. Two young boys, they grew up with an alcoholic father. One became an alcohol, and they were twin boys. One did not. They were asked this question: why'd you become an alcoholic? Because I watched my father. They asked the other one, why didn't you become an alcoholic? Because I watched my father.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love that.
Okay, so our brain can go anywhere we want it to go. It's that powerful, okay? Here's what happens with addiction. We make a conscious decision the first time we ever try a drug or drink or whatever it's going to be. We make a conscious decision. Whatever's going on in our lives, and I'm not saying I'm not saying you didn't have a tough childhood. That's not where we're going with this. So say whatever the reason was, you said, I'm going to do drugs. Okay, so you do drugs. It makes you feel really good the first time because that's what usually happens. It happened with me. Marijuana, right? Okay. So then, well, I don't want to stop doing this because it makes me feel good. It takes me to a place that I've never been before. So gradually, you start doing that. So here's what happens, and this is vital. If you're young enough and you start doing that, you're changing the brain cells because they're not fully developed yet. So when a teenager, your brain cells aren't developed probably till you're in your late 20s, really, if you think about it. All right?
Yeah, I've read that.
So if you're going to take something and alter your brain cells before they're even fully developed, that's where dis-ease happens. So unfortunately, too many young people today are doing this. So now, this young person did this, and now their brain cells are being altered. So now they have this disease. Okay. Well, now that doesn't stop there. So now they said, well, this isn't really getting me as high as I really wanted to get. I'm going to try this. 'Cause my friend told me about this. My friend's cousin told me about that, right? So then you just keep going on. And now for the next 15, 20 years, you're this horrendous drug addict. So,
But you just called it a disease.
No, a
dis-ease.
Dis-ease.
It's always
okay.
it's a dis-ease. What's happening to the brain cells, right?
It's
Okay.
in a state of
In a state of
dis-ease.
dis-ease. It's a fact, you know.
Okay.
So your brain cells are being altered. So now, over the course of, say, even if it's 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, your brain cells are being damaged more and more and more and more and more, and they can't function. But here's the good news, guys. Once you completely make a decision, because they're telling you, if you let your child hit rock bottom until they make a decision to get sober, they're telling you that. So they're also telling you they have the capability of it.
Right.
So if that child has the capability of getting sober, then it's choice. So at one point, if you guys choose to work really hard and say, I'm going to get sober, your brain can repair itself. Your brain can completely repair itself in a year. Okay? Your body can repair itself in a year. I did it. I repaired my body in a year. But here's the thing. Without any kind of sugar, I'm being serious here because that's the only real way. Because if you're putting in a substitute drug to your brain doesn't know it's not a drug. So that's the main thing with me, sugar. If you can take that addict and say, listen, I'm going to put you in this rehab. One day, if I hit the lottery, I'm opening up a rehab called I'm Just an Ass. Okay? There will be no sugar. It will be all healthy food. Everything amazing for that addict. If we could instill nutrition into them and say no soda, no processed foods, and no sugar, their brain can
You
heal.
mean no added sugar, like
Yeah.
Like you can have fruit.
Fruit
A
has sugar
fruit's
in
natural.
It.
Yeah.
If it grows from a real plant, eat it. If it grows in a plant, a building, do not eat it. So
That's
no,
a good.
it's the
That's a
truth,
good way to
but it's the
remember it.
truth. So if we could take addicts and we can say no, they say I'm going to stick to this. No sugar, no crap. They can heal. The brain will heal. But the reason why it's not healing in this country is because who does that? I am absolutely an exception.
I did no sugar for a week, and it was so hard. And
was-
then I
she
had
was
to
very
I had to
cranky.
give it up. Yeah, I had to give it up. So I did want to ask you. In your book, you say you were a functioning addict.
Yes.
What is that
Okay.
exactly?
So I owned businesses. I owned a beauty salon. And then I'll tell you the story because it saved my life. I owned my own business, owned my own homes. I mean, I was functioning. No one really knew what was happening because I only did heroin at one point, maybe on the weekends, and my mom kept my daughter. Then I said, you know what? I think I need to do it like 3 days. Well, then it was getting so out of hand. My mom had to take care of my daughter for me, and that's when all this went down. But here's what saved my life. And I'm also very, very clean. My house is like a museum. I now became addicted even more to that, you know?
Oh.
So I had to find a balance. And my therapist over 20 years back in the day, they're all my good friends now, okay? They're all my good friends. They call me for advice. It's great. But here's what saved my life. One of my very good friends and a client of my salon was a municipal court judge. She was the boss of all the judges in Mercer County. I used to go to the courthouse all the time and meet her for lunch, and I went, so all this stuff, right? Okay. I'm in the middle of Trenton in a 1990 black and gold Eldorado Cadillac with Elvis license plates. Are you talking about flashy? At 1 o'clock in the morning in the middle of Trenton copping dope with my girlfriend, okay? The cop was unmarked, watching, following us because he recognized my license plates from the courthouse from being there so much.
You were not a discreet drug addict.
I was a nut job. I was a nut job. So we had to go 2 blocks. He ran out of our heroin. He got in the back of my car. Imagine this. Me, right? Drove 2 blocks. Cop watched him go in, get the dope, come back out, get in my car. Pulls us over. Says, give me everything. Goes to the car, comes back. He goes, Jerry, here's all your stuff. Now listen carefully. Judge, I'm not going to say her name, so-and-so said, please go home and get some sleep. You got to get this guy out of your car now. I said, no problem. Get out, take the drugs, everything out. I put myself in a rehab that week. Saved my life.
Yeah.
Saved my life. So, you know, God works in mysterious ways if you allow him to. Because I'm sure there's other people out there with a similar story, but they just said, okay, and then next day did their drugs. So that to me was the biggest warning from God that you're going to die. I'm warning you now. Take this opportunity and live.
That's a beautiful story,
Right?
actually. Yeah.
So now let's talk about this, right? So here I was, a heroin addict. Okay? I started doing other drugs at like 13 because of my stupid cousins, you know. So I was a drug addict from 13 till 30, really. Until it got the best of me, right? So if I was able, after doing drugs that long, to say, I'm going to make a choice and get better, whatever it takes, it's possible, guys. You're not powerless. You are absolutely not powerless. I hate that word. Because once we really believe we are powerless, we can't get better. I understand what you're saying about why they want addicts to believe they're powerless over the addiction. It doesn't work that way with their minds. They should have come up with a different word.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even know what the word could have been, but something different to make them understand that for right now, you can't use, and maybe come up with a different word, but powerless is so powerful that it destroys them.
And your goal should be that you don't want to use. Your goal why should your goal be, oh, it's fun to drink recreationally, I want to do that. Your goal, after going through what you've gone through as
That's
an
right.
alcoholic, maybe your goal should be, I don't want to need this anymore.
That's right.
I want to be happy enough that I don't even need it.
That's right. Yep.
That's why your book is all about changing your life, not
about
just
change.
changing that
Yeah,
one
changing
habit.
your life. Changing your life.
I want to ask you, I never heard the whole story with your cancer,
Okay.
but my mother and my grandmother died from colon cancer.
Okay.
So I'm very interested
Okay.
in things
Whatever
to
you
prevent
did.
it.
Okay. So this is what happened. My mother's gone. She died at 69 of like her 9th heart attack. My mother and her entire family had every disease. Most of it was colon cancer and breast cancer. So I already knew, you know, and it's diet related because people say it's in the genes. Well, it's because this generation and this generation is just, they all live the same way. So that, you know, so that's why I knew I couldn't trust
Even
them.
breast cancer can be from diet, or
Oh,
can
breast cancer is from diet.
I did not know that.
So this is what happened to me. So I was a cheese addict, okay? When my mom made us lunch, we were in school in New York, and we would come home for lunch every day. I had to have grilled cheese every day of my life. All right, so anyway, long story short, when I realized the food was killing me, that's when I went and found this man and said, I really have to study and learn all this stuff. So colon cancer happens, guys, because of food. Food. If you talk to, and my mother's entire family, most of them died from it. So I'm not talking not being experienced here. Their diets were horrendous. So I'm going to tell you now, my grandmother, my Nana lived, my dad's family, they're all still alive. My dad was the first to die at 84, only because he married an American. The majority of them all married women from Italy. So their food was all homemade every day. We had that, like my dad made our homemade pasta, you know, but American food was incorporated. My mother went from being a beauty queen to obese in 2 years after they were married. So she never took care of herself. And I say that for a reason. My father picked up the American diet. That's why he became a diabetic and none of his other siblings did. They're all in their 80s and 90s. The youngest one is like 77 now, my uncle, who lives in Jersey. I love him. Okay, he was a Marine. So his sister is 92. My uncle, her husband, just died at 93, I believe, in January. I mean, they're all up there. Okay, they're amazing. So the diet is key. Now, so here's
but wait, Italians eat a lot of cheese, though.
But listen,
Isn't that a staple in the diet?
I'm going to tell
Okay.
you now why. So their cheese is all usually homemade, and their meat and everything. Here's what we did wrong, okay? They ate everything that was not processed. They made their own. They ate everything, really, in essence, that was organic, no chemicals and crap. But here's the biggest part of it. When my Nana cooked a steak or cooked meat for the family, everybody got a tiny little piece. Okay, your
Oh,
body.
because they've got 16
That's right.
courses.
But no, they
in a
had
meal.
but they had 9 kids, so they couldn't afford. So if
Oh.
they slaughtered their cows, right, that was their year's worth of food, right?
Yeah.
So generation up until 50 years ago, if you ate meat, who was wealthy? They ate a little piece, so everybody got a little piece for their protein, their so-called protein, right? The majority of their food was vegetables, their salad, right? If they had dessert, it was homemade.
Yeah.
Okay? Who had boxes of Dunkin' Donuts? Nobody. Right? So think about this. Their cheeses. My grandmother made all her own cheeses.
She made the cheese.
Made the cheeses.
Wow.
Their wine was homemade.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay? So now let's go to 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Okay, so now let's start making Big Macs. Okay, now let's start using microwaves. Okay, now let's start putting extra cheese on the pies. The pies were probably this big because even in Italy back then, the pies were small and really, really thin. Well, now they're this big.
Stuffed crust.
Stuffed crust. Okay, you got it. So our bodies could process anything in moderation. Our bodies are made. Listen, I remember saying to somebody one day, you know, we don't get cancer. We don't get cancer. Every day we fight it off. We have cancer since we're born. 1 million cancer cells a day are created in our bodies every day, and 1 million are fought and killed. We do not get cancer. The reason why cancer happens and takes over is when our body, the immune system, breaks down and it can't fight the cancer off anymore. And I can tell you all about that too. Maybe we could do another show about nutrition. But your body can process meat, a small piece of it. Your body can process cheese, a small piece of it. Your body can process. We don't do that anymore. Now, we're not even talking about Big Macs anymore. Now, quarter pounders, now what are they? I mean, it's just endless, right?
Yeah.
16-ounce steaks, 24-ounce steaks for one person. That's not normal. That's for a whole family. So that's the problem with colon cancer.
Yeah, and the vegetables is this
That's
much
right.
of the vegetables.
It should be
and
the opposite. So, you know, it's really funny, but believe it or not, if you were really, really wealthy 100 years ago, you probably got sicker and died. The poor families lived longer because most of their diet was vegetables.
Wow.
Okay.
I know this isn't about
We're in a
the
lot of
book.
trouble,
I just have a
Megan.
question. What about grains?
Okay.
Is that bad for you? Like, I
Eating
know
grains?
grains.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I heard brainstorm. You know, my head. Listen, we're talking about the brain.
Can we eat brains, please?
Oh my gosh. I said, Megan, please. Grains. I'll tell you about grains. All right. So, guys, if anybody out there wants to get in touch with me, I know more than most doctors know.
Oh, can you
because-
tell us how they can get in touch with you? Your
Yeah.
Facebook page? Or
I will.
anything?
Let me tell you about grains first. Gluten. We're supposed to have it. Nobody was ever gluten sensitive until now, and this is why. There's a bread out there, Ezekiel, and there's others, but Ezekiel, use that one. If you use that one, you'll never have an issue. It's still the original grains. See, what we decided to do was mess with the grains. Like back in biblical days, they ate the grains similar to Ezekiel bread. Okay, that's the only thing in my home. So if you want to mess with the grains and take out the fiber and take out, because we got to have white, you know, and we have to make sure it doesn't crumble. And we have to make sure that it can stay on the shelf for 100 years. And we have to- So it's no longer grains, Meg.
Yeah. Okay.
That's why.
Okay. That makes
Okay.
sense.
As I said, Megan, you and I are in a lot of trouble.
I know, right?
But I can help you guys with your diet. I'll send you information. Guys, you can get me on Facebook, Jerry Petito, GeriPetito. You can look up my book. I also have a video. My book ain't for wimps. Danielle Petito, an amazing film director. Now she's got her own business going on now. All right, love her, and she's no relation. Danielle Petito.
No, she's no relation?
No relation. Some crazy Petitos had a cult on Facebook. I'm part of it now, and that's how I met her. And she did an amazing video called "My Book Ain't for Wimps," and it's also funny, non-judgmental, guys. Okay, it's my Italian sarcasm that needed to come out in this to make you guys look at yourself and say, you know what? I'm not powerless. I'm an ass. I could fix this. Facebook, just anything. Just get me on Facebook, and then if you need me and we can connect, I'll tell you, because I have websites and all that. But
I'd like your thoughts on ice cream, please.
You don't want my thoughts on ice cream.
Let's not hear their thoughts on ice cream. We have ice cream in our
man.
freezer at home.
The majority of dairy in this country today is so toxic that it will cause osteoporosis.
And why is
I
that?
thought that was what it was to help.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you where the food chart came for the schools food pyramid.
Oh, yeah.
Came from everything I'm telling you guys is not an opinion. It is 100% fact. Like I said, I'm going to say it again. I've traveled all over the world on health tours. What I'm telling you is a fact. The food pyramid, I believe it was in the 50s, came out because the dairy industry got in touch with the government and said, these people are really stupid. Listen, you'll get kickbacks on all this. Let's work together and tell everybody dairy's good. No, dairy's not. And the reason why it was okay when my nonna had cows on the farm was because it was raw.
Yeah.
We're not allowed to have that anymore. So the dairy today causes osteoporosis. It causes every single issue with your ears, ear infections for kids, sinus infections, okay? If you get rid of it, your child will... My grandson, and we're not talking about vaccines here, but we do everything extreme. My grandson and granddaughter, never been vaxxed. We do everything extreme. He was vegan child since he was born. He's now not. He's in high school. It's his choice. The first 7 to 10 years of your life, of a child's life, will determine their health. Okay? So if your child...
Wait,
is
then
suffering-
it's too late for me. Can I just go enjoy my ice cream and
you-
my chocolate?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want, but no, it's not too late. My point is, I changed everything, right? But so dairy is a killer, guys. If you take your child off of dairy, you will be shocked at no more ear infections, no more tubes in their ears. Trust me.
I
Wow.
think that's very interesting. I don't know enough about that
Yeah.
to have an opinion, but
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yep, causes all problems.
Is there anything good? Like I
Like
like
tastes good?
cake, I like pie, I like yodels. Is there anything in the vegan world
Yes.
that's really good that we can get
Sure.
excited about? And,
Sure,
and
there is.
you know,
There's a lot of stuff out there. Listen, you know
I don't
what?
mean tofu or carrot.
No,
I mean
no,
something,
listen, there-
something good.
There are good things, but listen, you guys have something over me that I didn't have back then. I had to do the work. That's why I'm so tough too. I had to do the legwork. I had to travel. I had to read. I had to, right? You guys have access to every bit of information out there. So Google stuff. And I'll
Yeah.
help you guys, but you will not believe the stuff out there.
But, and it's the lifestyle today too,
Yes.
because I know what we eat is we buy something with preservatives in it because we don't want to go shopping any more than we have to. We want it to have a long shelf
Yeah,
life.
because we're busy.
You know,
We
and
don't
that's,
have time.
that's bad. We eat takeout when we're
You know?
busy.
So
you
this
know.
is what I've done because I am a super, super busy person, right? And I'm going to tell you, I ran poker leagues. I got home 1 o'clock in the morning every night, took care of my dad who was sick all day long, had a business, right? But this is how I made it easy on myself. I take shortcuts now. So I will spend maybe, 3 hours on a weekend, and that will be dedicated to my food. And I will make trays of all my
Yeah,
food.
yeah. I
We've
I
done
used to do
that.
that. Yeah.
So that's
that
what I
is.
do.
But where's
really
the
good.
dessert? That's the part
No,
I'm
you
still-
can listen. You can. My daughter. All right. Well, I'll hook you up with my daughter. My daughter's going to be going into business. She's doing all these amazing, healthy, amazing desserts, even granola.
I would like to
Super.
volunteer to sample and
All right.
review all these
Okay,
healthy
guess
desserts.
what? We'll do it.
I'd like to just go back to the book because we're running out of
You want
time.
me to read the
I
end?
wanted you to read the last
Yeah.
poem in the book because I really liked that. Each chapter, at the beginning of each chapter, there's a little poem that Jerry wrote, and the one at the end of the book I think is really good.
Okay. So, guys, listen. It's called Change. Your choice. I had a life-changing moment that I knew had to be. The only way to change things was to first start with me. So I looked in the mirror and woke up one day and thought to myself I needed to pray. So I asked God to change me, to help me stay strong, to clean up my mess, to right what's been wrong. I cleaned up my diet. I cleaned up my room. I cleaned up all habits with this old dirty broom. I kept going forward and never looked back. I refused to derail, stayed on the right track. I realized my worth and all that did matter through my selfish behavior, the lives I had shattered. I finally decided at 30 years old to stop abusing my body, my mind, heart, and soul. My life-changing choice that I had once made, it's over 27 years now. My debt has been paid. So you read all my thoughts on how to stay clean. It's all or nothing, my friend. There's no in between. To live or to die is a choice you must make. Your life is not worthless. You're not a mistake. One day at a time is a slogan you've heard. It works if you work it while applying his word. For you to get healthy, for your mind not to fail, escaping reality will keep you in jail. with addictive behavior, sex, drugs, food, or money, substituting addictions. Now, isn't that funny? I'm not an addict. This too shall pass. I'm not an addict. I'm just an ass. May the good Lord bless you and guide you.
That's beautiful.
That's great.
Thank you.
And I like how you say it's all. What did you say? It's all or nothing. Yeah, it's all or nothing. Yeah.
I really love all your poetry and your
thank
acronyms
you.
and all that. It's really very, very good.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. I think we're pretty much out of time. So
I
We
just
have a couple more minutes.
I just want to say,
8:15.
have you read Joyce Meyer's
I love
Battlefield
her.
of the Mind?
Listen, not only I met her.
oh, you did?
Did you?
So talk about her story. Do you guys know
Okay,
her story?
yes.
Her father?
Yes.
And do you know that she witnessed to him on his deathbed
Yep,
after all that?
I know all her
She's
story.
better than me.
Well, I was going to compare you to her, which is a big compliment.
Well, thank you, but-
Joyce Meyer had a terrible childhood. She was a victim of incest, and she's now watched by millions of people
That's right.
worldwide. She preaches about the Word of God.
Yes.
She's Christian.
Yes.
But I love the way she presents things.
She's tough, too.
It's psychologically
Yeah.
very sound. It's kind of Christianity with psychology mixed in.
Yes, yes.
And I love listening to her. She makes a lot of sense, especially with the basic psychology she knows as far as how you can change your thoughts from
That's right.
negative thinking to positive thinking.
That's right.
So she has one of her most successful books, Battlefield of the Mind,
Yes.
where you need to stop telling yourself negative things.
That's right.
But it's more than that. You need to replace that
That's right.
with something else. And
That's right. Fake it till you make it.
You can't argue with her, because when she stands up there and once or twice she has said in detail what was done to her in her childhood.
That's right.
And she stands there and says, "But look, how I stand here before you today.
That's right.
And I took care of my parents until they died."
That's right.
You know, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
She's the real deal, and that you have gone through all this, and
Thank you.
you know,
Wow.
you remind me. You and what your book says reminds me in a smaller way,
Thank you.
and you're living proof of it.
I have to say something about that with Jesus, because I remember saying to my pastor a while ago, I was dealing with some forgiveness issues. Things were being hit at me. 5 people in my past all sent me something like in 1 month about forgiveness, and I was like, how could I forgive them? And then I go to a service for my cousin's baby's dedication, and the service is on forgiveness. So I go home, I'm crying, I call my pastor, I'm like, Pastor Mark, listen, I need help. He comes over and he goes, Jerry, remember this, you have to forgive. God said so. You don't have to have them in your life, but you have to forgive. He goes, remember Jesus on the cross while he was being tortured, skinned alive, not just nailed to a cross, guys, skinned alive first before he was brought there. He said, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. And I looked at my pastor and said, but I'm not God. And he said, no, but you're instructed to forgive. What Joyce Myers was able to do.
Yeah.
Listen, she talks about this openly. She was used as her father's sex toy her entire life. Took care of them, and on his deathbed, begged him to accept Jesus Christ. I would have wanted him to go to hell, and that's bad. But you see? What a woman, right? And it's all because she put her faith in God. So I hope one day I could get to that point where she was at.
What I've said about forgiveness in the past that's helpful sometimes is to remember that as much as you've been through, and God knows everything you've been through and how much he loves you, he loves everybody else that same amount.
That's right. I had a hard time thinking Hitler could be in heaven, and my pastor said if he really truly meant it. Hurt people hurt people. Let's give a shout out.
Yeah,
right? Ricardo Richard.
Yeah.
Let's give a shout out.
Hurt people, hurt people. Great show
Okay.
on YouTube.
Okay, amazing. So, thank you guys. This was beautiful. Thanks.
Thank you
Megan.
very
Thank
much for
you.
being here.
Yeah,
Thanks,
this was a
Maria.
great show. Thank you. We're going to see you in a month. And this was Brainstorm, sponsored by The Jerry Petito Show, starring Jerry Petito. Thanks for listening, everyone. See you in a month.
Awesome. Beautiful. See, you still had a few minutes.